What relationship habits could be getting in the way of your connection and communication? Hi, I'm Holly Stokes with the Brain Trainer. We often think of hypnosis for changing habits. It's well known for stop smoking and overeating. But there's also habits in what we think and how we feel. Our brain is running habits automatically in the background, and because they're automatic, oftentimes we don't even notice them. But I wanted to share with you some relationship patterns, habits, that could be running and affecting your relationships. Now, when we think of relationships, often we think of being in a couple, spouse, partner, but we're in relationships everywhere we go. We're in relationships with our friends, with our coworkers, with our family, if you're a boss, a manager, or you're also in relationships, right? In your community, you're in relationships. So think about these patterns and kind of notice for yourself, where do you notice these patterns in your relationships, either with yourself or with the people in your life? So these patterns, these red flags, come from the Gottman Institute that has been studying healthy relationship and partnership for, I think, 50 years or so. They've done amazing work at really identifying human behavior, connection, communication, and they identified there's these four main flags that show up that are kind of telltale signs that a couple will not stay together. And they can be aware of this even very early on. So the first one is criticism. Thinking of criticism, where do you notice criticism? Do you tend to criticize others? Do you feel criticized when you're around certain people? Or are you even criticizing yourself? So that's a red flag too, and it's a pattern that probably isn't as useful in the relationships where you want to feel accepted, connected, and enjoying that connection. The next one is defensiveness. Now, defensiveness is where we're automatically putting up our walls, and it's almost like we're distrusting the other person, that they're attacking us. The attack may or is probably more often than not imagined, but putting us on the defensive, we're more likely to lash back. Gaslighting, and talk about, oh, I didn't take out the garbage. Well, you didn't wash the car, right? So defensiveness is another pattern. Where are we putting up our walls? Where do we feel we need to defend ourselves? Some relationships, maybe it's warranted, but more often than not, if we're putting up our walls, that's directly getting in the way of our connection and our communication. Now, the next one is contempt. Contempt is belittlement, putting somebody down. It's kind of like we have a hierarchy in our social world as humans, and some people are more worthy and deserving or more valuable than other people, and then everyone else falls somewhere in this hierarchy. So contempt is putting someone down, putting them down the ladder, making them less valuable, making their opinion not matter, not important. Contempt can come around in a lot of ways. It can be belittlement. It can also be the eye roll. So are you eye rolling someone in your life? Are you noticing eye rolls in the background? Or where do you feel like you're being belittled and experiencing contempt? And stonewalling. So stonewalling often comes about because in heated arguments, conversations, opinions, our emotions can flare up. And in those emotional flare-ups, stonewalling happens when we're trying to calm ourselves down. And the problem is, if we're just removing ourselves from the conversation, that's when one person shuts down and walks away. While they're trying to deflate that emotional content of that conversation. But the problem with stonewalling is it's shutting down communication. And if someone doesn't come back to resolve this original argument or topic of difficulty, the relationship doesn't grow and it doesn't overcome that challenge. In fact, it becomes kind of this imprint on that relationship that then gets in the way of other communication as well. So if you've noticed any of these habits or patterns, they are red flags as to whether or not these relationships are going to work for you in your life. Now, most of what our brain is running automatically in the background are habits, programs, automatic ways that we see ourselves or other people, or the information that our brain dismisses or that our brain notices. These are programs, they're running automatically. And so we have ways that we have blind spots in our relationships and what we see versus what we don't see. So I hope you enjoyed looking at this 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, these red flags to be on the lookout for. And if you're interested in learning more about how to change your brain habits to have better relationships, to uplift and enlighten your relationships, there's a couple of classes coming up that I hope you'll join me. So go ahead and look for the information below, or check out my website, braintrainer.com/classes. And you'll see the upcoming lineup there as well. But just as kind of some quick tips here with relationships is to keep in mind that everyone has their own patterns, habits, programs, but their mind is running automatically. In fact, our example of this, as we're growing up, our brain is just taking on all of this information, and our parents are the first maps of our relationship. And so our parent models come from our parents and becomes our default map for relationships. So when two people, their habits, patterns, programs are kind of created by what they saw growing up, then that becomes their default. So now we're trying to have these communication, connection, conversations, whether friends, family, coworkers, and we have different maps. So one person, their even rule books is a way of thinking about it. Their respect rules are on page 4. Your respect rules are on page 27. And so there's kind of this disconnect that we can be experiencing in relationships, that we're not on the same page. We're not even in the same book. We're not even playing the same game sometimes, right? So bringing a sense of curiosity as you're kind of noticing how you're showing up in your relationships. And that's what the upcoming classes are all about. We can't change other people, but we can change how we're showing up. We can change how we want to be, how we are managing our emotions or caring for ourselves with our emotions to be more uplifting and enlightening in our relationships. So I hope you'll check out the information below, check out the website, and join us for the next class on changing your brain habits to have better relationships. Using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnosis, we can change brain habits even very quickly so that you can have a better experience. You can have a better life today. Thanks for watching. Here's to your health, happiness, and success. I'm Holly Stokes with The Brain Trainer.